Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Surrey Being Hunted. We're here on the East Island on our current map and all that. Basically it seems we're just doing default playthrough and all that. We'll probably play this map to completion before we then move on to doing something else in Sur and all that. Now it's Friday evening as when I record this. Not by the time obviously this video goes out, it won't be, but you know I record these usually several days in advance and all that. So there's couple of things potentially actually that I kind of want to address in this video. So it's going to be a bit more of a serious topic, this one, I think. Not necessarily about things going on in the world, but rather about my channel itself and just some thoughts that I've kind of been having this last few weeks, and I kind of really want to invite some viewer feedback on this and see how people feel about it. But first things first, which I might as well mention, obviously, you know, it's 2025, and for the past several years, obviously we've all been sort of wondering what's going on with the reinvented edition of Surrey Being Hunted, and truth is, you know, there's not been any official update on that front for a while. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's been at least a year since we last heard anything from Den of Thieves by way of an update, and I haven't seen official confirmation of this, so take this with a pinch of salt, but I don't know, I've been seeing discussions on the Surrey Being Hunted forums, as well as in other places, suggesting that Reinvented Edition may not be coming out after all, potentially, because, I don't know, the absence of any communication from the dev team is starting to lead people to concerns that maybe, you know, Den of Thieves is no longer in business, or has folded or something. I don't know. My hope would be that maybe Du Yuang is possibly watching this, and if he is, I don't know, could you give me confirmation of whether that's true or not? Because, you know, it would be unfortunate if that was true, kind of hoping it's not, but you never know what may happen with small companies such as Den of Thieves. You know, sometimes maybe ambition proves too much or whatever, and as a result things that they're doing at the moment, games they're making, just end up taking so much time. They encounter all kinds of technical things that just take so long, it absorbs so much money that in the end, you know, they just can't keep going and all that, which, like I say, I'd hate for that to be the case, but obviously we really need confirmation of that, one way or the other, because it's been a while since we heard anything from, heard anything at all really, from our devs and all that. So that's the first thing I just wanted to mention, because, you know, my plan always was, with Surrey Being Hunted as a series on the channel, I'd keep playing this game until eventually the Reinvented Edition comes out, and then I would switch over to that, start playing that one. But obviously that's going to be a bit of an issue if the game itself effectively is never going to be released because the dev team has folded. But that gets me more generally onto sort of a bigger point about Surrey Being Hunted here on the channel. And again, you know, maybe Du Yuang or someone will comment down below to let me know what's going on. You know, are those rumours true, or actually should I not be putting any stock in them? Because like I say, I would hope that maybe they're not true, and that actually work on Reinvented Edition is continuing. But, putting that aside, these last few weeks, I have been sort of wondering about what is the long-term future of Surrey Being Hunted as a series on my channel. Now, I know what some people are probably thinking when I say that. They're probably thinking, oh shoot, are you saying that you're kind of getting bored of the game and you want to move on? No, it's not that I'm getting bored of the game. It's just that, obviously, we are, 756 episodes into this friggin' series now, and when I sort of look at the view counts on Surrey Being Hunted episodes, it fluctuates quite wildly. So some episodes, you know, the view count does alright for my channel, you know. It'll get a good, you know, it'll be in the tens of views, which, sure, in the grand scheme of things may not sound like much on YouTube, but in the context of my channel, that's decent, because, you know, that means there's a decent little audience watching it and all that. But sometimes you get other episodes where the view count crawls up very, very slowly. And the thing is, these last few weeks, you know, I've been predominantly doing, obviously, podcast-style episodes, and I do generally enjoy doing those, but I do sometimes wonder how appealing it is to you viewers out there just listening to me wandering around in the world of Sir, rambling about whatever is on my brain at a particular moment in time. Because let's be honest, you know, sometimes when I do a podcast style episode, you know, I'll have one of those days where I feel like I'm on the ball, and as a result the conversation just sort of flows very nicely. But I'll have other days where I'll start off with a topic that I think is interesting, but then I find it doesn't really go anywhere. And as a result, I sometimes wonder, you know, what is the quality of my commentary in that episode? Is that really interesting to listen to? Is it kind of boring? And so I've been sort of wondering, like I say, about what the long-term future of this series is on the channel. Is it to continue doing things as I'm doing at the moment, where basically, you know, every sort of 3 or 4 days I upload a Sir You're Being Hunted episode, which obviously doing that requires that I do have to record Sir fairly regularly. And of course, if I'm doing a lot of these podcast style episodes, which I do find myself doing a lot these days, because of the fact that the thing is, I've done so many challenges now, it's got to the point with this game where within the mechanics of Sir You're Being Hunted, a lot of my challenges now just sort of revolve around the same kind of core ideas, i.e. kill this number of robots or, you know, acquire this number of items. Which actually, you know, Phil is actually helping me a little bit on that front to try and think up alternative challenge ideas. That's why he suggested quite a while ago that one where we sort of crossed Sir and Minecraft, and we did sort of like a Sir robot hunting challenge where killing certain robots would score me time, and then we transfer over to Minecraft and I have like a challenge to do within the amount of time I've scored, which I think was quite a good challenge. And Phil has been sort of trying to think of essentially similar things to that, where we can like cross with another game. So one example he's been talking about recently would be something like TF2, possibly, where we think of like a challenge where I score points in score amounts of time by killing robots. Then we transfer to TF2 and do like a time challenge where I have to fight and kill as many opposing players as possible, that kind of thing, which I think is a decent idea, you know. Obviously then it becomes not purely a Sir You're Being Hunted episode anymore, but hey, it'll go in the Sir You're Being Hunted playlist anyway. But so yeah, Phil's trying to think up ideas like that for stuff that's fairly newish and original. But like I say, within the confines of Sir You're Being Hunted's mechanics, I feel like every sort of challenge really that I can think of, I've probably already done. You know, there's only so many times you can do robot hunting challenges or item hunting challenges, that kind of thing, before eventually it gets a bit old hat. And so, you know, in light of that, I'm sort of wondering if in the future Sir You're Being Hunted on the channel, maybe I need to move to a slightly different format with it. Because one thing I do think with Sir You're Being Hunted is that I think some of the best episodes in this series are when Phil joins me, and in fact even better when Phil and Connor join me and we can just have a great conversation about whatever's on our brains. Because otherwise, you know, usually when it's just me, that's fine, but obviously sometimes when I'm having a conversation, one of these kind of one-sided conversations where it's just me, there can be moments, you know, where my dialogue, my commentary, dialogue, it's not the right word, that makes it sound like it's scripted, where my commentary sort of becomes very stop-start as I'm kind of thinking, you know, of the next thing to say that's related obviously to the topic that I'm talking about. You just saw it happen then. Whereas obviously if you have Phil and Connor in the room as well, you can get some great little conversations going. And so I'm thinking that, you know, in future I want to do more episodes of Sir with Phil, and even better with Phil and Connor in them, so that way there's just more of a, you know, there's a bit more banter and a bit more proper like back and forth and a bit, you know, a bit more liveliness to the conversation in essence. But of course if I was to do it with Phil and Connor, much more frequently like that, that would probably therefore mean that I can only realistically record Sir at weekends, and even then that will be subject to Phil and Connor's availability. Hoping that obviously they don't have other commitments, things that might sort of potentially get in the way or mean that they're not, available for recording and all that. So that's just one thing, obviously, I have to bear in mind if I was to sort of move towards increasingly in Surrey Being Hunted, not really doing individual episodes like this one, where I'm on my own anymore, but instead having collab episodes where I'm joined by, Phil and Connor, and we actually get, actually having a good sort of lively conversation amongst ourselves. And of course, because of that, because realistically, I would only be able to most likely really get those collab recording opportunities most often on weekends. Obviously, because Surrey Being Hunted is uploaded every sort of 3 or 4 days or so, that does just mean that it creates a bit of a pressure in terms of if I was, say, to move to a format where I'm, always trying to get Phil and Connor involved in Sir episodes, then we'd be under a lot of pressure to sort of record a lot in order to ensure I have, enough content to basically have, for a couple of episodes, roughly in the week, something like that. Because that's the thing, if you look at like a 7-day basis, 7 to 8 days roughly is when you'll have, over the course of those days, you'll have probably about 2 Sir episodes. And of course, it just creates that pressure, is what I'm saying. So therefore, in light of that, what I'm also wondering is, not only do I should I sort of switch more to a format where increasingly, if not for entire Sir episodes, I'm joined by Phil and Connor, but also, should I move Surrey Being Hunted to a slightly less regular schedule? Like I say, I don't want to get rid of it. That's not what I want to do. I still enjoy playing Sir, and I still want it to be on the channel. I'm just wondering what, the ideal format is and all that. Because the thing is, like I say, when I'm just doing these, short podcast style episodes, that's also very dependent on there being something that I've encountered or seen or read or done recently that I think is interesting. Otherwise, the quality of the sort of one-sided conversation I'm having can sort of drop a bit, and it's just not that interesting. So I was kind of wondering if maybe what I should do is, instead of doing a Surrey Being Hunted episode every 3 or 4 days, maybe do one every couple of weeks or something. I know that means it would go down to a much more infrequent schedule, but part of me is wondering if that is the future of this series, because what that means is, after a couple of weeks, I could record like a big, fairly chunky Surrey Being Hunted episode, potentially, with Phil or with Connor, or both, and we could really have a good long conversation about whatever's on our brains, really have quite a, a good substantive discussion, an episode and all that, and then I upload that as, say, I don't know, either as like a bonus video on the channel in an afternoon sometime when it's ready, or maybe I put it, like say, to a schedule where it's every couple of weeks I publish a Sir episode of longer length. And part of me is gravitating a bit towards that idea, just because I think it would make for longer, more substantive, more interesting episodes. B, if it was done every couple of weeks, that would give plenty of time for myself and Phil, or myself and Connor, or myself, Phil and Connor, to schedule a time to get together and record. And on top of that, if I'm not doing Sir as frequently, that also frees up, I think, additional time in the schedule to potentially be playing other games as well. Because the thing is, I've got so many freaking games in my Steam library that I want to play on the channel, but of course, it's just a matter of I'm never going to freaking get through them all. I've got like 700 different freaking games in my Steam library alone. So basically what I'm saying is I'd love to have, a bit of time freed up in the upload schedule to maybe do other stuff. Because the thing is, like, indie horror games, for example, I'd love to maybe have a crack at actually having a certain slot in my upload schedule specifically for, like one-shot indie horror games, that kind of thing, that I found on Steam or on itch.io or whatever. But of course, like I say, it's just that issue of the current schedule means I have to do them as bonus content. But the thing is, obviously, in the last few weeks, I've been really on the ball with Captain Claw, for instance, which has been taking up a lot of the schedule in terms of my bonus uploads and all that, which is fine. That's good, So that's why, really, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sort of saying to all you guys out there, I really want to invite your feedback on this. Because the thing is, I do want to take into account what my viewers' sort of take on this is. Would they, I don't know, would they prefer that I kept the Sir You're Being Hunted format as it is now, where I'm uploading every sort of 3 or 4 days or so? Or do you think it makes sense for me to go to a slightly less frequent upload schedule for episodes in this series? I don't know. Like I say, I don't think there's a sort of right or wrong answer to this. I think I've just got to think really about what possibly works best and all that, and what you guys probably want to see. Like I said, I will continue to sort of, reassure people and say that I'm not getting rid of Sir. Absolutely not. That is not what I'm wanting to do. I do not want to get rid of Sir at all, because it's been going so long and it's such a fixture on my channel, and I just enjoy playing it because of how chill it is, that, in essence, I don't want to get rid of it. But I do feel like, in 2025, it's been over 10 years since I first started playing the game on the channel. Like I say, I do think times are changing a bit. And so, as a result of that, I do think just reconsidering or reflecting on the format of this series is probably for the best and all, Oh, fuck off. Where are you? There you are. Shit. Going all over the place without meaning to. This is not good. Get away from him. Right. He's gone. Don't think I planted my thingy, did I? My alarm clock. Alright, I need to sort of loop around to that friggin' device piece that those guys were at and get around the old slag heap. Here we go. I mean, I got tons of shotgun ammo. He'll be fine. Oh, never mind, I did set the alarm clock. And then I immediately got spotted. Where are they? Oh, there's the dog over there. Come here. Thank you. Lovely. Right, well, that's all device pieces from this island, which is pretty good. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, so basically, yeah, I've kind of covered really the topic of conversation I wanted to talk about in this episode, so let me know your thoughts, basically, is what I'm saying. Sip of tea whilst I'm at it. Alright, now we just need to get back to the centre island and deposit these pieces, and then we're done with this map, ladies and gents. But yeah, let me know. So, in summary, proposed rough kind of format is... What the hell? Are you not going with your patrol? Who are you with, buddy? Well, you can't now because you're dead. Yeah, so in summary, proposed format, a big, chunky Sir You're Being Hunted episode every couple of weeks. Most likely with Phil and Connor, or, even just one of them involved, for a nice, more than just one-sided conversation. Like I say, chunky episode, so we can do some good challenges, have some good long discussions about whatever's on our brains at the time, whether that's current affairs, games, or even, what Phil sometimes likes to do with questionnaires, things like that, to try and stimulate a discussion. Because like I say, I don't know, from my brief little informal surveys, and I say surveys, quote unquote, rather just, comment-to-comment conversations I've had with random viewers from time to time, it definitely feels, a lot like the best episodes in Sir, the ones that tend to go down best, are the ones which Phil is involved with, and, you know, by extension as well, which Connor's also involved with. Because you remember when, you know, Connor first started getting involved in Sir, and we did that mammoth of an episode where we're talking about, you know, sort of childhood toys and things like that. The lists of what was popular back in the 90s. That was a great episode, that. I really enjoyed that episode. And like I say, that's really, you know, the kind of thing that I think is really interesting and which we can achieve. And plus, you know, if we're doing it on an upload schedule where Sir is only coming out, say, every couple of weeks, that also potentially means I may have time to, I don't know, not only record a video with Phil or Connor, and Phil and Connor or whatever, but also potentially to do some editing wizardry with it, you know, to jazz it up. Again, like I did with that Toys episode, because obviously in that Toys episode I also used a lot of imagery, so I had to obviously use magics and all that to do a lot of video editing, which is fine, you know. I see these robots back here are not happy about my proposed idea. Well, that's unfortunate, because you don't get to say, oh, for fuck's sake, not the fucking scarecrow, thank you. Let's do that. God dang, there's fucking robots everywhere. This is not good. Oh my god, there's another fucking dog. Why are there so fucking many of you freaks? Jesus Christ, there's another dog over there. The heck? Alright, that's lured them all away, except for that guy over there, who's still freaking chasing me. Can you go away? And there's fucking riders! Of course there are. Okay, right. Can I loop around and get back to the standing stones in one piece? I certainly hope so. Let us see, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, they're going to bugger off, aren't they? Bloody frickin' scarecrow. If it hadn't been for that scarecrow, it would have been okay. There, ladies and gentlemen, but it's fine. We're right here, and they're not going to be able to do shit about me. So, device pieces in here.
Sir,
there we are.
Done. I'm bringing the device up to speed now. I hope you won't consider this impertinent, sir, but I'm amazed you survived. Hang on. We'll have you out of there in 3, 2, 1.
Gulp down the remainder of my tea. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Well, that was another episode of Sir Being Hunted, another map down and all that. Well, yeah, so really all I can say is, you know, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, for the time being, I'm going to keep recording Sir on a, you know, regular schedule, as it is at the moment. But like I say, you know, sometime in the near future, depending on what I ultimately decide, depending on what your viewers think, depending on what I think would probably work better going into the future, let me know. You know, I'll make a decision eventually, and then you never know. The future of the series may change to a different format. We'll see. So, social media links, propaganda channel link, etc., as usual in the video description for anyone who might be interested. If you enjoyed, of course, a like is always appreciated. But other than that, I'm going to sign off now. Goodbye, everybody. I mean, it wasn't really anything going on the screen. It was just going haywire. Oh, that's not good. Ooh! What just... Whoa. Okay, that's a Silent Hill thing. That's definitely a Silent Hill thing. Right, isn't there like a thing in Silent Hill with a siren? Whenever they... Oh! Jesus. Well, that went very red. Is that it? Are we in the other world? Did our worlds collide? Reality with the world of... whatever... spirits and God knows what. Ooh. Hey!